Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's preview as England take on Italy tomorrow in the second week of the Six Nations. Both teams looking for their first victory after Italy were completely outclassed by France last week, and it's got to a bit of a cricket score at one stage. Before then, Scotland started their Six Nations campaign with a fantastic upset against England at Twickenham, which is the venue for the match tomorrow. So, if there was ever a time for Italy to try and do something, maybe, England confidence is a little bit down. But if you look at the previous meetings, this should be a reasonable walkover for England, especially when you look at the Italian side, the fact that it's a very young side, very inexperienced. Franco Smith trying to sort of build something in Italy and trying to sort of look at the long-term gain of blooding the youngsters and trying to establish a squad which can start growing together as opposed to getting instant results, despite the fact that he'd come out and say he reckons that this squad can achieve results instantly. But I think if you look, historically, Italy have always tried to sort of aim at the Scotland fixture to try and get some points. And look, at Scotland going to play like I did last week, I think it's just a massive gulf in the quality between five of the nations and Italy, which has been the case traditionally. But I think this tournament, we could even see that and some more. But before we look at the two teams and the changes, because there are changes to both sides, especially to the England side, please do subscribe to the channel. Bottom right-hand corner there, smash a like on the video as well. We'll be doing a live watch-along on Sunday for Ireland versus France. We will also have match reports as each match finishes, so make sure you keep it locked on the channel to be up to date with everything that happens across the Six Nations. Right, so we'll start with Italy and a couple of changes, which has been a lot of it mostly for injury prone, or injury enforced rather. So if you look at the changes itself, Marco Zanon has been ruled out with injury, which means that Carlo Canna comes in at inside centre and Ignacio Breaks moves into outside centre. Stephen Varney keeps his place at scrum half, as does Paolo Garbizzi, who I think was criticised quite a lot last weekend. But I think what we've got to be very sort of cognizant about the fact is that we're talking about a player who's very inexperienced and very young. He's 20 years old. He's played very little international, professional rugby really. But Franco Smith sees something in him, and he sees sort of the excitement, and I think enough of it to warrant just backing him and saying, I think he can do a job. Other players who've come in are the likes of Tommaso Allen as well as Federico Mori. So, yeah, not too many changes, still sticking with the side that did get outclassed by France. I think another big learning curve awaits for them this weekend against Twickenham. But I think that there are some players there who can do a job. And we saw a wonderful... I thought the wings last weekend were working really hard, Montana Oye and Lucas Berendio. I thought that they worked hard, and I think that there is something there. You can see there's a little. There are glimpses in that Italian side of players who can improve quite substantially. And I mean, look, there were, and I think a lot of last week was France being very clinical when they needed to be. And what was quite interesting was seeing how Franco Smith was so quick to change things. The fact that he brought on his two props. I think in about 30 minutes, half an hour, and we saw one scrum which was a decimation by France, and immediately Franco Smith was saying, I'm not going to hang around and watch us get brutalized. I'm going to make the changes early. I'm going to bring in a new front row. But yeah, so there's not too many changes for the Italian side there. But in terms of changes, and speaking of front rows, it is an all-new front row for England. Marco Venipola as well as Carl Sinclair have been recalled to the squad and immediately called into the starting 15, and they will start next to Luke Cowan-Dickey with Jamie George dropping to the bench. The other big notable change is George Ford is at number 10, Owen Farrell at 12. That sort of combination that we've seen quite a lot of in the previous few years, and I think it is the best combination. I think Farrell last week struggled with his tactical kicking, and I mean there's no doubt that he's a world-class player, and Eddie Jones dismissed the idea of him getting dropped quite quickly, but George Ford is a much better flower half. And probably managed the game a little bit better than I think Owen Farrell is. So what we're seeing there, Courtney Laws also comes in at number 6. So yeah, look, what we're seeing there, I think is getting to a closer to being a stronger sort of 15 that England can put out. I think Farrell at 12, George Ford back at number 10, Ben Young's a lot of experience there, and Carl Sinclair and Vinipola are two very big players for England. So I think that it's a sign of intent from Eddie Jones that on the back of a shock defeat against Scotland, he will not risk losing this game tomorrow. He wants to go out and make a very big statement. And in terms of statements, if you look at the previous encounter between the two sides, it doesn't make for particularly good reading. We're looking back to last year's encounter, 34-5 win. Before that, there were two encounters in 2019. One was a 37-0 victory at St. James's Park for a warm-up for the World Cup. The other one a 57-14 decimation at Twickenham, which was the last time these two played each other at this ground. So if you had to look back over the years, the last time Italy really put up any sort of fight was an 18-11 loss at Twickenham back in 2013. So a very long time since Italy have really competed at Twickenham. And what's interesting is, you look at some of the individuals, and Owen Farrell, somebody who's probably under quite a lot of pressure, he averages more points per game than Italy than he does against any other nation, which is 14 points per game. So he'll be licking his lips and thinking that if there's one game where you can try and get back into the swing of things and bounce back from last week, tomorrow will be the one. So it should be quite an interesting game. Kickoff is at 4:15 in South African Standard Time. I think it's going to be a nice way to get the weekend going. Scotland and Wales is the second game tomorrow, and then we've got Ireland France, which should be a classic clash on Valentine's Day on Sunday the 14th. Let me know what your predictions are down in the comments below. I'm going to go with a England by, let's say, at least by 25 points, probably about 30 points. I think will be sort of at least the sort of margin we're talking about. I think it's a very spirited Italian side, but I think that England will want to make a big statement, and I think that there's just too much firepower in this English side for a very inexperienced Italian side who are still trying to find their way in World Rugby. But let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you very soon.